Hello, guys, and welcome to week 2 of Fox Animation Reviews. This week we'll be covering, of course, the same 4 shows. Uh, so one thing I do want to mention is that I honestly thought this week was better than last week, and I hope people are watching because I thought this week was much better than the last. This video is not going to be as long as the last one. I think the last one I spent way too long just going a bit off topic, and I'm really not going to explain. I'm really not going to go through. I'm probably not going to explain everything that happens in the plot, but I'll list moments I thought that were funny, and pretty much talk about my overall thoughts. So we're gonna. First of all, I just want to say the ratings for these episodes were just. Bleh. But I mean, you had NBA, NFL, 60 Minutes, all these programs are watched by at least 5 million people or more every week. Whereas, like, these programs, usually on average, they get about, basically without the football lead, basically without the sports lead-ins, they get, maybe 1 or 2 million viewers at max live. But you have to keep in mind that people watch these during streaming. So I hope people watch these episodes because I don't want people to sleep on them because I honestly think like this week is probably one of the most consistent weeks I've seen in some time. So yeah. So anyways, on to the Simpsons and Carumbus. So this episode sees Homer and Marge go to a museum and wondering how Homer can get more ambition. And of course, the employee overhears them and tells them the story of Obeseus, who's Homer, who marries the character that Marge's who marries a girl he loves after he gets her pregnant, and she's really rich and he's really poor because he was sold into slavery. And of course when Marge's dad who's Fat Tony in this episode, because it's not canon, finds out that Homer impregnated Marge, he basically sets him free to live with her and their new family. And they have 2 kids who are obviously Bart and Lisa. And of course, they're not rich until Homer becomes a senator after killing Emperor, who's Mayor Quimby. And this lust towards power and fame is really the moral message of this episode. I just don't feel that it's overall done right. So if you want a quick overthrow, so Homer becomes a senator. Marge puts poison in the Emperor's food, and the Emperor has a Smithers. Because the new Emperor is Mr. Burns, and he has Smithers, his slave, try his food. So Smithers dies from the poison, and he knocks over a pillar, which kills Mr. Burns. So then Marge appoints Bart to be the new emperor because Homer's too old to be an emperor. So after appointing Bart, he basically gets out of control, has way too much power. Everyone hates him, and when Homer tries to speak out, he has the guards seize Homer into a prison where he sends to death by being eaten by the lions. But, of course, no one pays attention to Lisa, and she ends up freeing Homer from the jail. And Homer and Bart go onto a gladiators battle, and pretty much it ends up in a stalemate because both of them end up dying. And of course, Marge's in the story, the Marge in the story, her realization that greed and too much ambition can lead to total chaos. Of course, which Lisa explains at the end. Is really the overall message, and she basically kills herself because of her sort of misery, because now 2 of her her husband and her son are dead. She has no reason to live, and basically all of them die except Lisa. So I mean, I think the message overall is a little bit flawed. I mean, I think if you really think about it, it's good to achieve. It is, but I mean, like but I feel like here it's just saying that even if you achieve a little, it can lead to chaos. And honestly, I don't think that's true. There are many people who achieve and get successful. So yeah, I think overall the message in this one's just a little flawed. I'm gonna go ahead and list some funny moments.
Well, if it isn't the champion of Rome himself.
Lady Majora, what are you doing here?
I have to keep an eye on my father's investments. Plus, I like the way your pecs dance after you kill a guy.
Oh, these old things? Blip, 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 blip. Linus, I'm fatigued. Yawn for me. Ah!
Obeseus, we gave you the idea that made you rich. How about making good on your promise and freeing us now?
Guys, thank you so much for bringing this up. I'm really lucky to own friends like you. Tell you what, I'll have my accountant crunch the letters and we'll circle back. The important thing is we started a conversation.
We're missing the whole point. If Rome had kept worshipping us, everything would have been fine.
Get over it, Dad. You always get so worked up whenever you watch The Mortals.
Can we change the channel? The show sucks now.
Yeah, it's totally gone off the rails since season 2016.
I know, but I want to see how it ends. Definitely feels like they're wrapping it up. Any day now.
But I mean, overall, if you're looking for a good episode you know, as a Simpsons fan, you might be, you know, there are a lot of people who don't like HD episodes, but if you really want to check one out, I definitely think this is a recommend for me. It's funny. The plot works sort of well. Really, the only cons were the ones I listed. I mean, like, you know, people criticize modern Simpsons for not being that funny, but I honestly thought this was. I mean, okay, maybe I can't say that because I really only thought last week was unfunny, but it's definitely way funnier than last week for sure. So yeah, I mean, like, if you thought season 31 was pretty overall solid, I mean, I thought it was decent. I liked episodes like The Way of the Dog, The Hateful 8-Year-Olds, Highway to Well, and then you have Thanksgiving Horror, Living La Pura Vida. You got a lot of good episodes in 31. And most of them were, yeah, they were okay. So yeah, overall, I still have faith that The Simpsons is still at least, you know, where it was last season, at least with this week. So now on we go to Bless the Hearts and the Last Supper. So this episode sees a new corporate restaurant come in known as Lord Lobster, an obvious parody of Red Lobster. And this episode sees Greenpoint being worried that the Last Supper is going to close down. So Jenny's plan is to make a commercial about why Greenpoint rules without corporates. And honestly, I think this episode was held over for a really good time because, you know, nowadays people need to know that you know, you need to support small businesses. They're essential parts of our economies, and I think this episode does a solid job at having that commentary here. So basically Jenny gets them to be in gets her friends to be in a commercial, but she eventually gets upset because they're not taking it seriously. I mean, first you have Louise, Jenny gets Louise in the first shot, and then she's like, "Oh, welcome to the Last Supper, y'all. We have a parking lot where you can park for 2 hours," and then she doesn't explain about what makes her restaurant so good. She then goes off topic to talk about parking lots, people who made their home, because Jenny wants to say when you're at the Last Supper, you're at home, but of course Louise has to chime in and say you can't say that because there were some homeless people who literally made their parking lot their home until Louise had to get the courts involved. So she basically goes off. So she basically finds excuses not to say at home, and then eventually Jenny gets tired and moves on. She then proceeds to get Betty and Crystal Lynn to film together, but you know, of course, their petty rivalry it doesn't work because they start jabbing insults at each other. And then that's not only that. You still have Brenda, who gets a sunburn and ruins her take of the commercial because she breaks the plate she's holding because of her pain. And then you have Wayne who attempts to get Ian David Cole in for a commercial, but of course he's going through a divorce and he's depressed, and he actually attempts to commit suicide. So Jenny doesn't want to work with Wayne because because of his dumb decision. So eventually she gets fed up and she goes into the intercom. She goes into the office and the intercom is left on, and she basically goes out. She basically goes on a vent to call out everyone. She calls out Wayne, Betty, Louise, Mayor Webb, Brenda, Betty, and Crystal, and yeah. So basically, when everyone hears her on the mic, they get upset at her and quit. But honestly, I feel like Jenny sort of has a right to get mad because of their incompetence. Because if they wanna save their restaurant, you really have to take an active stance in these sort of things, and these people aren't really their lack of motivation sort of pisses her off. And Jenny's trying to help, and she is. Jenny's definitely trying to help, and I feel like overall the moral's a little weak because they basically took it out all on her because of her venting. When honestly, I think the townspeople as a whole should have did better. And I mean, of course, everything becomes resolved when Jenny finds out from an internet video recording that Violet had on her computer that they all love Greenpoint and they want to save their and they want what's best for the town. So eventually they all come back into the commercial together and they all say, "When you're at the Last Supper, you're home." And of course, with all the first edited takes, there were obviously some really obvious cuts, which made it even funnier. Like of course Betty and Crystal Lynn's sort of rants were still in there. I think even Crystal Lynn's line was sort of edited out. It honestly makes it really funny because if we go back to their previous episodes, like Trash Twins, Tying the Knot, Megalo Memories, their rivalry is easily one of the most consistently funny things in the show. Like, I just dead on laugh from their antics. You could say it sort of gets old, but I just like seeing them sort of being a rivalry, but they're not like full on enemies. So of course, now with the end of the episode, I'm going to go forward with what I thought was funny.
Time to shoot a commercial, my babies.
Lord Lobster is sailing into the Triad, opening soon on Route 311 with the Mariner's Platter, succulent shrimp, mouth-watering lobster, and the biscuits you cannot resist. So next time you're on Highway 311, hit the gas and sail on past Greenpoint to exit 19, future home of Lord Lobster and ye old shops at the bypass.
Just make sure we get the line, "At the Last Supper, you're home."
Well, Jenny, the problem with saying "your home" is that we had those nasty squatters in the parking lot who actually did make this their home until I had to get the courts involved.
Okay, fine. Let's just go again.
Welcome to the Last Supper, where if you are a squatter, know this. I have got Ricky's Towing on speed dial. Ricky's Towing is the absolute best in Greenpoint, y'all.
Cut. Okay, Louise, you didn't say anything about your food, and then you immediately started doing a commercial for another business.
With facilities so clean.
Betty eats off bathroom floors.
Oh, what in the hell?
Okay, stop. That wasn't... Ugh.
Here I am coming out of this clean bathroom. Just visiting this crazy catsuit lady who lives in here.
Ugh.
Here I am coming out of this clean...
Help! The elderly lady next door pooped her tuck.
So tacky.
You old bag.
Oh, camera, action me. Stop right there, partner. There's no room in this town for empty bellies.
Pew! Pew!
Oh, my God. Okay, why did you say pew-pew if it's a real gun?
Sorry, I thought this was my ex-wife's house. And blackout.
Hey, Violet, are you filming me? Okay, well, film this. Jenny freaking rules, Greenpoint freaking rules, and anyone who disagrees is a little bitch. Ah!
Oh, Vi, what did I do?
May K. Bueller here at the Greenpoint Library where they're kicking off Fine Forgiveness Week. Hey, what the heck do you think you're doing? Just talk right into the mic right there, right there.
I have breaking news. I am a butt, y'all. A big old butt. The whole town of Greenpoint showed up to help, and I should have been thanking you, but instead I let all your quirks drive me crazy. But those quirks are exactly what makes this town so special. I'm sorry I let us down. I just hope you forgive me.
Doo-doo-doo-doo, I'm Louise Culp, and welcome to the Last Supper Seafood, a restaurant that does tow.
We've got friendly service with a smile.
With facilities so clean.
You can eat off the floors.
And you might even see a local celebrity like Ian David Cole.
When you're at the Last Supper,
you're home! Sheep
The Last Supper Seafood in Greenpoint, North Carolina on South Main. 2-hour parking, strictly enforced, no squatters.
Well, turns out Lord Lobster never did open that restaurant. Not because of the commercial, of course. The commercial was pure crap. But because the CEO of Lord Lobster turned out to be a pedophile. So they had bigger fish to fry. And as for me, well, I got more towns to save.
what? No.
Yeah, so overall, I think this is a pretty solid episode of Bless the Hearts. I wouldn't say it's as good as last week's, but it's I guess you could say it's a palate cleanser, really. I know we're getting vanilla, right now. With last week and this week, we're mostly getting just tame stuff, and I know it's not selling a lot of people quite yet, but I feel like it's really just a warm up to what we'll be getting later in the season. I know in one of the upcoming episodes, the Harts get taken hostage in an abandoned mall, and I know there's some fire coming out of Jenny's eyes in a preview I saw, in a trailer I saw from Phil Lord, which honestly makes me wonder if like something really good might happen that we haven't seen in previous seasons, because I know the season 1 was mostly pretty tame overall, but I know that the crew of the show stated that they want to get a little more out there in their approach. So I'm hoping this becomes a show where they can find their legs and get a little more out there, because I feel like if they really want to stand out from the other shows, they really kind of have to do that. So I'm hoping they're able to. This is just vanilla, so we get to the good stuff later on. So The Last Supper is indeed a funny episode. Like with The Simpsons, I think maybe a few plot lines and overall the moral was really only the problem of it, but I could say it's pretty funny throughout, and I would of course recommend watching this one too. So now we go on to Bob's Burgers and Worms of In-Rearment, which sees Gene get the pinworms. And of course, Linda wants to go to the symphony, but once Gene gets the pinworms, they can't. And because of this, Louise gets scared and tries to run away, because after Linda doubts she has pinworms, but then she realizes that she touches Gene so much, so she probably does. And then Gene touches Tina, who then I think touches Bob, and then they all get pinworms, I think, or at least they're all infected or like exposed, while Louise is the only one who isn't. And of course, we know that Gene is a pretty unsanitary person, as you've seen from previous episodes, like I think it was Full Bars. You have Taco in the toilet, and he's known for not washing his hands, eating stuff off the floor. I mean, Gene is a pretty disgusting person, in my opinion. He's funny, but he's overall pretty disgusting. So basically, it's pretty obvious why Gene would contact the pinworms, because of his unsanitary behaviors. And Louise, of course, doesn't want to get the pinworms, so she runs around the apartment in the second half. Trying to not get pinworms from the rest of the family. And meanwhile, Bob picks up the medicine for them, so then they're able to take the medicine and hopefully and it'll be a sort of treatment for their pinworms infection. I think Louise takes it too, because she may have been exposed to it. There's a reoccurring gag that the hamster is like the hamster fort is like the best thing they've ever built, and it stays there forever. And then when Linda destroys it, they all get sort of crazy but then Bob agrees to get them more stuff so they can build it. So instead of going to the symphony, they end up I think it doesn't tell you, but I have a feeling that they end up rebuilding stuff that they find in the basement. So overall, I would say Worms and In-Rearment is definitely dead on, really funny. The only con I really have of the episode was I think maybe the first few minutes were a bit too slow, but I think then I think once the basically once Gene starts to reel he's itchy and starts scratching his butt, the episode pretty much excels from there on forward. And yeah, I'm just gonna list some funny moments now.
And by the way, I turned out perfect. And then there's Gene and Tina, who are doing their best.
Hi. Wait, what?
Bob, you look fine. Come on.
No.
We can't keep looking for your dress shoes. We gotta go.
But these clogs look stupid, and the whole symphony's gonna laugh at me.
Maybe the trombone player will just make a sad trombone sound.
That's what I'm worried about.
Tina, you ready? We gotta get going soon.
Cool. So I may have outgrown this dress?
Or the dress fits great, and it's just that your arm fell off and your boobs got weird.
Ow.
You know what? I think it's fine.
It is?
Yeah, you can barely notice.
I honestly didn't notice until you pointed it out.
Yeah, and it makes my clogs seem normal.
What?
Nothing.
Okay, let's rock. We're gonna be early. Nothing's gonna stop us now, baby.
Itchy.
Going to the symphony. It's really happening. Do you guys already feel a little stimulated?
My arm is tingling a bit.
Itchy.
Gene, what is it?
You know what? I'm gonna just...
That's great! That's just great! Now you all have pinworms!
I don't have any pinworms.
Really? You don't think there's any chance Gene gave you pinworms?
No, I love you.
No,
more.
I love you
no,
more.
I love
no,
you more.
I love you more.
You. Okay, Gene probably gave me worms. Louise, where are you going?
Nowhere.
Louise, come on, we gotta leave.
Not me. Not in a car, trapped with all of you and your worms.
Louise! Symphony!
Ah!
Where are you, Louise? Mama needs this. One thing I've always wanted since I was very small was to be the best, and Mommy, the bestest of them all. I'd be loving, I'd be kind, but also fair and firm. But now their report cards are full of D's, and their butts are full of worms. Oh, I'm a bad, bad mom, and it was my favorite job, and I'm gonna scratch my bottom right now.
What if we all scratched our butts against each other's butts? No, that's stupid. Okay, maybe not.
If only I had taken them to the symphony when they were still young, they'd be getting all straight A's and B's so clean between their bums. Oh, I'm a bad, bad mom, and it was my favorite job, and I'm gonna scratch my bottom right now.
Kids, shush. Linda, are you okay? Linda? Lynn?
Oh my god. The slide's dead and Mom's dead? And I've got butt worms? What the hell?
I'm not dead, I'm just sad.
Linda, it's okay. Sorry, kids. Just a bunch of toilet paper rolls.
Dad, come here.
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm gonna slap your leg.
Ow.
Yeah.
Lynn, are you gonna get off the floor?
No.
Okay.
I'm a bad mom, and I'm tired. I think I pulled my boob muscle and my butt itches.
Yeah, overall, I would say Worms of In-Rearment is definitely funny, for sure. Yeah, as I'm listed with the funny moments, I was cracking up. I watched this episode, I think, 3 times now, and it honestly hasn't gotten old yet. Actually, this is a holdover episode from the previous cycle, the 9th production cycle. Because now we're on season 11, which is the 10th production cycle. Having this episode held over was, I think was a good sign. It was definitely worth the wait. And it's not because of COVID-19. I just think that it's just a reminder that we need to be aware of our sanitary habits, and our responsibility as citizens not to stay home if you're exposed to any disease, not just COVID-19, any disease. Like, oh, if you got flu, you got me, you have other stuff, or you have like, I think it's like the norovirus. Like, even in a world without COVID-19 or coronavirus, we should still take responsibility and stay home when one of our family members in our households gets sick. And I definitely think this episode has a good lesson in that, because Linda's overall intentions to get them to the symphony really can't, because Jean has the pinworms, and she feels so, and her behavior throughout the episode feels a little bit irresponsible. But I think it really uses each Belcher to their best. Worms of In-Rearment is indeed a good, funny episode of Bob's Burgers. I would probably go to say it's great once I said after you get past maybe the first 2 or 3 minutes, it just suddenly becomes great. It uses each Belcher to their best by keeping them in one setting. There's no subplot, so there's more time focused on them. And because you only have the Belchers as the featuring characters, like I said, it uses each of the Belchers and puts some of their best foot forward, since now we're not cooking with gas. So, I mean, I honestly think I have a lot to look forward to in season 11. I don't see a decline anytime soon, like with the Simpsons in season 11. I think the show is going to go forward to be one of the most consistently great shows like ever made in television. I mean, like, we're already on 196 episodes. I mean, apart from maybe some in season 1, I definitely think like the show has tons of good episodes, tons of great ones, and even lots of amazing ones. So you can definitely see why this is one of my favorite shows, based on this episode, even if it's not at its best. So now I'm going to go to Family Guy and the talented Mr. Stewie. So this episode sees Stewie go on sort of an enlightenment journey after he finds out from album pictures in the attic that Chris used to have Rupert before he did, and the name was Skippy. So basically, Stewie tries to distance himself from Rupert, but it doesn't really work until he takes an enlightenment trip. And basically, from the enlightenment trip, his goal isn't really like he's fully over it, but he realizes on his trip to fully be over from all this, he needs to kill Chris and Rupert. So basically, that's where the sort of twist comes in. I mean, I would say this episode was decent. I definitely think there are some amusing moments. I mean, nothing like really laugh out loud funny, but honestly, there are some unfunny stuff in this episode. Like, I can name some right off the bat. You have Chris's sleeping with one eye open. That was just dead on unfunny. You have the Oprah Winfrey cutaway gag, which just the Indian Oprah Winfrey cutaway gag just felt like filler. Peter Griffin waking up, I guess, in the middle of the night sort of was fine until you realize he says, I forgot to record young Sheldon. It could have just been so much better than that. It just killed it. And the Stewie's toy draft vomiting on the Uber driver was just shock humor at best. And maybe like the last 1 minute was just incredibly unfunny. But I mean, like, overall as a story, I think it's decent. I mean, you have your typical story, then the twist, then you have the stock plot where they all come back. So basically, Stewie, once he realizes he has to kill Chris, he has to invite him to dinner. In order to fully execute his plan. And once he knocks Chris out and takes him on a boat to dump him in the lake, Chris wakes up from his consciousness, and they go in a brawl head-to-head. And honestly, I thought the brawl was pretty good, mainly because of the references they make to pop culture. As I've said, Family Guy is definitely one of those shows that works best when they make great references to pop culture. I know some of them are just dead on awful, but you have stuff like in Patriot games where basically they all sing Shaboopy. It's just a great reference to pop culture in general. And I honestly think that talking about these sort of movies, while I've never seen them, and doing them during a fight especially just makes it so much better. And yeah, and basically Stewie defeats Chris, but then he sees in his he puts a camera in Rupert when he's with Chris. That's how you got the Chris sleeping with one eye sort of thing earlier, as I said. So once he sees the camera footage later on, he realizes that Chris was going to give Rupert back to Stewie after dinner because, Rupert means so much to Stewie, and because Chris can understand Stewie, as we've seen from recent episodes where he can finally understand him. This better comes into play because we know that although I don't like Chris that much as a character, you could say he does have his moments, and definitely, I guess one here is really one that shows the dynamic works sort of well between these two characters. This episode definitely felt pretty American Dad-ish as opposed to the story overall is pretty coherent, but honestly, I think if you pretty much get rid of all those, if you got rid of all those annoying random meta moments, this honestly felt like an episode of American Dad to me, because American Dad is known for its very coherent stories. I mean, American Dad recently does have a lot of that meta humor too, like Family Guy, but I mean, I don't think they're directly explicit about it with cutaways like this show. But I mean, this episode honestly felt a little bit like an American Dad episode. And honestly, I praise Family Guy when it sort of has that balance between the two, the full-on Family Guy or the full-on sketch comedy versus American Dad's sort of character dynamic. And Family Guy has proven, I wouldn't say this episode is good, but I mean, Family Guy proves it works at its best when you don't have too much of that sketch and you have sort of that character. You sort of have those character dynamics. You have recent episodes like Big Trouble in Little Quahog, Passenger Fatty 7, which both of those focus so much on character dynamics. And they feel like American Dad episodes to me, and that's honestly what I like from Family Guy nowadays. I'm not a huge fan, although I still love Family Guy as a show in general. I definitely think more of the meta humor recently has really degraded it, in my opinion. And it's not just cutaways. Like, these are even worse than the cutaways. You have stuff like Peter saying really stupid stuff, like just in the middle of nowhere, just to fill time. And then you have like the talking animals. Even last episode, like they did it again in the last episode. It's Stewie's first word. They basically had two. I think they were like raccoons talking to each other with the dialogue, and then they said it's just not funny. Like even Duncanville tried to do it. It's not funny. It's horrible. It's awful. And like, why do honestly they've done it so many times that maybe the first time it was fine, but then after that it's just it's terrible to watch. So I mean, I guess if you want funny moments, I'll list them now before I end this review.
Well, I should get back to my book.
That's a clock, but okay. So, how you doing with Rupert gone and everything?
Are you kidding? I'm fantastic. He was kind of holding me back, if I'm being honest. It's time I got out there again. I've had one bear my whole life. That's not normal.
Nothing about you is normal.
I mean, I've already wasted a whole year of my life with him.
There's only been a year of your life.
All of your responses have been very similar, so you might want to nip that in the bud. Look, the truth is, things got a bit stale between us. There wasn't one part of Rupert's body that I didn't know by heart. None of it excites me anymore.
Well, do you want me to keep an eye on Rupert for you? Make sure he's doing okay?
No need. I turned him into a nanny cam.
A nanny cam?
Yeah, I put it inside him. Deep. It's inside him now.
I don't know how to respond that won't sound similar to other responses I've made, so just continue.
Right, well, whenever Chris and Rupert interact, 10 minutes later, I'll get a chime notification on my phone, and I can pull up the video.
Why is there a delay? Why can't you get the video immediately?
I don't know. Why can't you poop on a toilet?
Fair.
This is exactly how it happened in the movie. How can you say this isn't like Hitchcock?
This is from the talented Mr. Ripley. It's not a Hitchcock film.
It's not?
No, it was directed by Anthony Minghella.
But isn't it a remake?
Of a French film.
Basically, basically Stewie saves Chris, and the episode pretty much ends there. And yeah, Chris ends up in the hospital to recover. I mean, yeah, I would say this episode really wasn't that good in my opinion. So Talented Mr. Stewie is decent at best. There are some amusing, even funny moments. I mean, there was a lot funnier than last week, that's for sure. But I mean, you still have some of like the worst. You still have some of those things that I don't like about Family Guy. I guess you could say I mean, I can't really put the stock sitcom thing at fault. But I mean, honestly, I thought like Stewie Stewie being drunk, talking to like the waiters, or talking to the Italian people was just most of the traveling thing was just unnecessary filler. It doesn't really start to get sort of good until like I guess you could say like the twist. Honestly, I'm not a fan of twists in a Family Guy and American Dad, but honestly, I think it sort of worked more here just because the episode was really sort of tame-ish Family Guy until you got to that point. But I mean, overall, I would say it's decent. I mean, I would say this is easily the best episode since Rich Old Stewie, just because I've been so disappointed. Like, they've given us how many episodes? They've given us 9 pretty much disappointing episodes in a row. So I mean, to say this is at least somewhat decent is pretty much a good compliment to have. So there you go, guys. You have my thoughts on these 4 shows as a whole. So now, since I'm done giving out my thoughts, I thought this week was pretty solid. I hope more people watch these episodes in streaming because these are some pretty good quality episodes compared to last week's, especially for The Simpsons and Family Guy. Both of last week were So now I want you to let me know what you thought in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you guys next time.